I was going to read you the Goodreads thing, but it is in Spanish. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda, and today we're going to be talking about the Orilium Magical Readathon, which is a year-long readathon that me and some of my friends are doing together. And we are going to talk about the spring books that I read for my class. Yes, this video is kind of late. Yes, I am recording this after April is over. It's May 7th currently. And no, I do not care. So, let's get started. As always, we are going to start with what am I drinking. So today I am drinking coffee, which should be a surprise to no one. And I am drinking the Fortato Nespresso capsule with just a sweet cream coffee creamer, because the coffee creamer I normally drink is currently out of stock everywhere, and I can't seem to get a hold of it. So I am stuck with my leftover coffee creamer that I've had in my fridge for months that I only drink when I don't have my other coffee creamer. And of course, as always, we have our special guest, Marvin. If you are new to my channel and you are like, what were those two things? I like to talk about the drink I'm currently drinking because I drink a lot of coffee and I think it's fun. And Marvin is a bear that I've had since I was a child. And he sits here on my couch in my living room. And I thought he'd be fun. So everyone say hi to Marvin. He has nothing to say. No thoughts in that brain of his whatsoever. So today we are talking about the Orilium Readathon. So I'm going to show you my bullet journal. This is the Spring Orilium Readathon. I will link the video for it in the description box because you probably can't read that. And those are the 4 books I read for the spring semester. The reason I read those 4 books is because I am a story weaver in the House of the Arcane, and my spring classes are inscriptions, art of illusions, psionics and divination, and lore. So that is why I read those 4 books. And I'll go ahead and put that up again. Those 4 books. So we're going to be talking about them today, and I will give you a better picture of their covers. The first book I read was part of the inscription class, and the reading prompt for that was book from your highest shelf. Now, I kind of cheated. Kind of. My highest bookshelf is currently full of books that I love. They are my favorite books of all time, and I have read them all so recently because I'm new to reading, kind of. Um, and I wasn't quite ready to reread any book yet. So instead of taking a book from my highest shelf, I took a book from the highest shelf of one of my really great friends, the one I'm doing the readathon with. Readathon with. And so on her highest bookshelf, and was highly, highly, highly recommended, we have the Foxhole Court. So, what is the Foxhole Court, you may ask me? I will go ahead and read the Goodreads summary for you. Neil Jostin is the newest addition to the Palmetto State University XC team. He's short, he's fast, he's got a ton of potential, and he's the runaway son of the murderous crime lord known as the Butcher. Signing a contract with the PSU Foxes is the last thing a guy like Neil should do. The team is high profile, and he doesn't need sports crews broadcasting pictures of his face around the nation. His lies will hold up only so long under this kind of scrutiny, and the truth will get him killed. But Neil's not the only one with secrets on the team. One of Neil's new teammates is a friend from his old life, and Neil can't walk away from him a second time. Neil has survived the last 8 years by running. Maybe he's finally found someone and something worth fighting for. That is the Foxhole Court. I'm going to go ahead and say now we are going to talk about spoilers for the Foxhole Court. So if you wish to not know any spoilers, I will go ahead and post links, like timestamps down below, and you can go ahead and go to the next book. Just to kind of put it out there, most of the books I give are threes. Because if I give a book a two, that means I could read it and I didn't completely hate it. If I give a book a one, which I've never done, either means I did not finish it or I did finish it but hated it and I like never want to look at it again. Three usually means that I liked it. And I just liked it. And then four, I really liked it and I would recommend. And five is like, I loved it. I would recommend it to anyone I spoke to, no matter what their book genre favorite stuff is. Um, so I do have a couple 5 stars, but not many. So for the Foxhole Court, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the reason I gave the 4 to 5 stars, so the little summary that I wrote, I have these little reviews that I write for every book that I read, for the Foxhole Court is kind of irritating. The boys, which is like Neil's kind of group of friends once he finally joins the Foxy team. I call them the boys because I call my friends the boys. So his boys are assholes. The only reason I enjoyed this book as much as I did is the hope that Andrew, Kevin, and Neil will go soft for each other. This book, especially, if you're going to read it, you need to check the trigger warnings before reading this book because there is some sketchy stuff that goes on. And if you are worried about sketchy things getting to you, then I do not suggest reading this book without looking at the trigger warnings first. So I actually, yeah, I liked this book. I did give it a 4 out of 5, despite the fact that I started it with kind of irritating. It was mostly one part of the book that I really didn't enjoy, and that part of the book is the same part of the book that you need to read the trigger warnings for, so I think that kind of makes sense. And in this book, especially, Neil is quite paranoid, and in this book, I didn't quite vibe with that. I was just like, your paranoia is a bit much, dude. Don't know about that. I will say though, I did end up reading the next 2 books in. Well, I read the second book in April, and then I read the third book at the very beginning of May. And Neil's paranoia kind of starts to make sense in the second and third book, and you kind of go, okay, Neil, like I get it, and you kind of start to like feel for him. But in this book, it was really hard to get behind his paranoia. Um, but at the same time, like in his position, you kind of get it. He's been on the run since he was like 8 or something. I don't actually know. So it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's kind of like, come on, Neil. So yeah, that was the Foxhole Court. Do I recommend it? Yes, I do. If you read the trigger warnings and you think you're okay with it, I absolutely recommend the Foxhole Court. Great. Okay, the next book I ended up reading was for the psionics and divination class, and it had to have clouds on the title or the cover. And I struggled with this a little bit. Um, Mostly because I was trying to go through books that I already owned. And I realized that none of the books that I had already owned covered that. So I was like, I don't know. But then I do a separate book club, which includes my Orilium girlies, my 2 friends that I do the Orilium readathon with. And we had picked to read something wilder, which does in fact have clouds on the cover. So I was like, yay, that actually works. And I was very thankful that we picked that because I didn't have to think that hard. But I kind of forgot about it for a bit and I didn't really look at the cover. So I did double dip that book with my book club and the Orilium Readathon. I was going to read you the Goodreads thing, but it is in Spanish. Why is it in Spanish? So the Goodreads description says, growing up the daughter of a notorious treasure hunter and absentee father, Duke Wilder left Lily without much patience for the profession or much money in the bank. But Lily is nothing if not resourceful, and now uses Duke's coveted hand drawn maps to guide tourists on fake treasure hunts through the Red Rock Canyons of Utah. It pays the bills, but it doesn't leave enough to fulfill her dream of buying back the beloved ranch her father sold years ago, and definitely not enough to deal with the sight of the man she once loved walking back into her life with a motley crew of friends ready to hit the trails. Frankly, Lily would like to take him out into the wilderness and leave him there. Leo Grady knew mirages were a thing in the deserts, but they barely left civilization when the silhouette of his greatest regret comes into focus in the flickering light of the campfire. Ready to leave the past behind him, Leo wants nothing more than to reconnect with his first and only love. Unfortunately, Lily Wilder is all business, drawing a clear line in the sand. It's never going to happen. But when the trip goes horribly and hilariously wrong, the group wonders if maybe the legend of the hidden treasures wasn't a gimmick after all. There's a chance to right the wrongs of Duke's past and their own, but only if Leo and Lily, Lilo and Stitch, Leo and Lily can confront their history and work together. Alone under the stars in the isolated and dangerous mazes of the Canyonlands, Leo and Lily must decide whether they'll risk their lives and hearts on the adventure of a lifetime. So I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. And I will go ahead and call for spoiler warnings. So go ahead and use the timestamps down below to go to the next book if you don't want spoilers. What I had said about it was that I thought the relationship between Leo and Lily didn't make a lot of sense to be that heartbroken after only 5 months. I didn't really, it wasn't really my vibe. I enjoyed the treasure hunting stuff, and I didn't like Brad and Terry. One thing that I thought was interesting about the book description from Goodreads is it says that it goes hilariously wrong. And I'm not too sure it does go hilariously wrong. Some people get hurt, some people get hurt, people get threatened, it just hilariously just wasn't kind of the like vibe. I guess Christina Lauren, which by the way, Christina Lauren are two females, friends who wrote this book together, and their pen name is Christina Lauren. So there was Christina and Lauren. Um, and I guess they wanted us to kind of laugh at the like, ha ha ha, this person got hurt, and oh, it's so funny that they like slipped while walking. Haha. It was just to me it wasn't funny what was going on. But I still enjoyed the book. Yeah, I didn't know if maybe 5 months was enough time to decide that this person was the love of your life and pine after them for 10 years. I don't know. Call me cynical. 5 months to me just doesn't seem like a lot of time. So it just, I don't know, when I was reading the like description of the book, I was like, oh, they were together for years and then something happened and then they got separated for years. Nope, it's 5 months. And it would have been also kind of different, which I know this is super hypocritical of me, if they had like met each other once and then pined over each other for 10 years, because that's like a romantic in a different way. But like, it just, 5 months to me just wasn't a like realistic amount of time. Like, if they had pined over each other after one day, then I could be like, well, it's a romance book, But I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the whole 5 month ordeal. And their relationship just didn't seem believable to me. I don't really know. Anyways, that was Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Do I recommend this book? Yeah, if you like a book, if you like a romance book that focuses more on the adventure than on the romance, yes. I thought the adventure portion of it was actually really good and like decently well done. The romance was kind of the lacking part. And this book has smut. Not a whole lot, and it's not like super crazy, but it is a slightly smutty book. So if you are into that, or if you're trying to avoid it, that is good to know. There is smut in this book. Um, so yeah, that was something wilder. So the next book that I read was Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo and Danny Pendergast. And I always want to say Pentagast because I'm pretty sure that's Cassandra's last name in Dragon Age Inquisition, and I love that game. But it is Danny Pendergast. And the prompt for this book was to match the clothes color to the cover color. So I wore a black shirt that had like purple flowers and kind of pink and purple spots on it. It wasn't a perfect match, but it was good enough for me. So I read that book and wore that shirt. Okay, so the Goodreads for Demon in the Wood says before he led Ravka's second army, before he created the Fold, and long before he became the Darkling, he was just a lonely boy, burdened by an extraordinary power. Eric and his mother Lena have spent their lives on the run, but they will never find a safe haven. They are not only Grisha, they are the deadliest and rarest of their kind, feared by those who wish to destroy them, and hunted by those who would exploit their gifts. They must hide their true abilities wherever they go, but sometimes deadly secrets have a way of revealing themselves. This is spoiler time for Demon in the Wood. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I said that it was a genuinely beautiful book. I think Danny Pendergast did a wonderful job of the artwork. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book. And it made me feel a little bad for Alexander, aka the Darkling. It did, however, make me wonder how he fixes his leg. So at some point, he uses the cut on his own leg. And, like, that just never gets brought up again, ever, in any of the other books, ever. And I don't understand how he fixed that at all. So, I don't know. It's pretty short. It's like a 200-page graphic novel. But all around it was pretty good. If you like the Grishaverse and you like the Darkling, or if you want to know more about the Darkling, then I absolutely recommend it. I think it's a good graphic novel. If you just want to look at something pretty, I think it's pretty good. Um, yeah, it's pretty decent. The final book I read was for the lore class, and I had to have a map on the book. And I read the infamous A Court of Thorns and Roses. I have never read this book before, but it is everywhere, everywhere. And I really like Six of Crows, and ever since I read Six of Crows, I have heard that I would also really like ACOTAR. And this book, yeah, was everywhere. It's all over my TikTok. One of my Orilium girlies, my best friend, she read it also, and so I was saving memes on TikToks, memes that I didn't understand because I think it's slightly spoiled for me. So I was saving memes that I didn't understand and then sending them to her once I finally understood it. It was awesome. This is the ACOTAR book description from Goodreads. When 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least, he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy, Tamlin, transform from icy hostility into fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairylands. An ancient, wicked shadow is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. From Sarah J. Maas comes a seductive, breathtaking book that blends romance, adventure, and fairy lore into an unforgettable read. Alright, so now we're getting into spoilers for ACOTAR. So if you want to go ahead and skip to my ending sequence, timestamps are down below. I gave Akatar a 4 out of 5, which was the tied with the highest with the Foxhole Court for the Orilium Readathon. This was my review. I didn't like Feyre very much in this book. I got so annoyed when she would do dumb things and then she got into trouble and then be annoyed that she got into trouble. And I'll expand on that in just a minute. Also, Tamlin wasn't that bad in this book, and I was expecting him to be a lot worse. Just from what I see on TikTok, I was like, oh, he's got bad vibes. But in this book, he was totally fine. I enjoyed it though, and I would probably read it again. 4 out of 5. So my main gripe with Feyre, and I don't know if this is just the fact that I have to like follow rules. It's deep set into my being that I don't like breaking rules. One great example was Callan Mai, and I'm thinking about this now that maybe Reese had something to do with it, but Tamlin and Lucian were like, hey, Feyre, don't go to Callan Mai. Like, I get it, the bonfires look fun, but like, for your safety, don't go to Callan Mai. And then Feyre's like, I'm going to Callan Mai. And she goes to Callan Mai. And then, like, she almost gets hurt. And then she gets saved by some mysterious stranger. And then Lucian finds her. And then he's like, hey, what the fuck are you doing here? And then she's like, I'm here to party. And he's like, no. So he drags her back home. And he's like, what did we tell you about going to Callan Mai? And she's like, well, you can't blame me for wanting to leave this house. And I'm just like, yes, Feyre, he can blame you for wanting to leave and then leaving this house because they told you multiple times, hey, don't leave the house tonight. And then, right, and then Lucian is like, hey, don't leave your room until morning. And then, in Feyre's stupid mind, after that almost happened, at like 2 a.m., she's like, it's cookie time, so she leaves her room. And then Tamlin's there, and he bites her neck. And it's just like, Feyre. I mean, she was into the neck biting, so like, whatever. But it's like, girl, your whole attitude is like, well, it's not my fault I left. Like, yes, it is your fault that you left. They tell you all the time, hey, don't do this. And then you're like, I'm gonna do it anyways. It's so annoying. Feyre was so annoying in this book. Just, just, I do not like her much in this book. And yes, Tamlin's not that bad in this book. I will say it now. I am a Tamlin sympathizer. I think Tamlin gets too much hate. I think he does. I think people choose to ignore what happens to him under the mountain in the other books. And then they're like, well, he's just abusive and mean. I think that Tamlin thinks that he is doing the right thing for Feyre. I don't think he is doing these things because he wants her to be locked up. I think he genuinely thinks he's helping. Do I think he's a good guy? No. But he clearly has some stuff that he needs to work through. And it baffles my mind that so many people just seem to not really care that Tamlin is also having problems. They're just like, well, he locked her in the house, so he's automatically the devil and the worst person here. Like, I don't think Tamlin's a good person, but I think that a lot of people choose to overlook his trauma when they look at Feyre's trauma and look at Reese's trauma and everyone else's trauma, and they like sympathize with them, and they're like, oh, but they're so hurt and broken. And then they see Tamlin and they're like, ugh, he's a dickhead. Like, just because you're an asshole doesn't mean that you can't also have trauma. And I just think that Book Talk needs to kind of chillax on the Tamlin hate. And just for a couple minutes, just take a step back and realize that he had to stand there and watch Feyre get herself killed. He had to watch Feyre die. And it was his fault. And he had to watch her die. Like, you don't. I just. Some people just seem to think that, like, that just means, Tamlin's gonna be, okay. If you had to watch your loved one die, you would definitely be, like, traumatized. And especially then if they got brought back to life, then you would be like, well, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure they don't die again. So I think the hate for Tamlin was unjustified slightly. I think you can still hate him. You can still hate him. I totally agree. I don't like him as a person. I think he took it too far. Every single time he took it way too far, but I think he meant well. Anyways, that was my 4 books that I read for the spring semester of the Orilium Readathon. And I really enjoyed it. This was my first semester doing it. Um, and it was really nice to I like having a reason to read books other than like for fun. It's nice to like get something else out of it. So like I got guild reputation points for this, or like it went towards something. And I just really, really enjoyed that. So yeah. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about any of my thoughts on the books, please leave them down below. Again, I will link the Orilium video down below in the description box so you can also experience it. It is awesome, and I am super excited for the fall. They are also doing a year-long choose your own adventure kind of thing. Let me find it. A year-long choose your own adventure kind of thing, and they also have some side quests that they're doing right now that I'm currently working on. So it's very exciting. And thanks so much for hanging out and watching. Uh Thanks so much. Goodbye. Oh, little side note. Just wanted to let you guys know I'm definitely putting this after I finished the whole video. Please let me know what you're also drinking in the description below. If you are drinking something right now, whether it's tea, coffee, water, soda, alcohol, let me know. I think that'd be fun. Or you can let me know what your favorite drink is if you don't have a drink. Okay, love you guys so much. Bye. So unprofessional.